Alrighty then. Well, I'm not sure if the intro actually played that time or not. It was set to, but then it just didn't. So we'll see how that goes. Ken, are you there for me today, sir?
I am, but yeah, I didn't hear anything. I don't quite know what happened. I heard pirate music.
Okay, so wait,
and then blankness.
Things are happening, but I can't see them. So I think everyone else can hear you. Go ahead and talk for me again, Ken, because I see it bouncing, but I think I'm not hearing you. I might have chosen the wrong input
Bonjour.
For my audio.
Ich bin Ken.
Darn me.
There's my one word of French saying you and it's in German.
Darn it. Let's see. Alright, let me try this again. I have this in. Okay. I have you coming through. Oh, you know what I did? I put the Discord from you through the wrong channel. That, I think, might be my fault. Let me try this again, because I see it bouncing there. But because I changed between... Oh, look at that. Now talk to me, Ken.
Right.
Hey!
I can't look at that. Hello, hello.
There it is. That was totally my fault. So, sorry, everyone. I have tried to fix it. And so I think I got it sorted now. Yay!
Well, it sounds like it's working fine now. That's good.
Okay. So, anyhow, everybody, welcome to Show X on VTWProductions.com. You're listening live at 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. GMT, and we are here to give you another wonderful show of Show X. Alrighty then. So, kicking things off, let's see. So, if I can do it, let's see if this will still work. Try to do some
dysfunctional deviations.
Hey, it worked. Ken, how are you doing today, sir? And as for those watching in, you can see Ken is audio only today, as he is still out and about, but hopefully will be for the end of, or for the last time for now, as you will be back to normal. What, next week?
Yes, be back home next week finally and thankfully. So, well, it's been a long month down here.
Traveling and work, and I can understand, sir.
I'm looking forward to getting home.
So with that, what have you been doing? And hopefully it's not all been work. Hopefully you've been able to go out there, see some things, do some things.
Yeah, a couple things here and there. So, God, let me see. Probably the most interesting thing chronologically was on my way back down here, because I went home last weekend for a couple of days and came back down again.
Okay.
I can hear myself slightly, by the way. That's strange. It sounds like an echo from a speaker or something.
Yeah, that might have been. I might have still had audio coming through the wrong thing. So hopefully that will help.
Okay, well, hopefully nobody else can hear it. So last weekend, yeah, I traveled back up. Well, sorry, I traveled back down here after visiting my family. Weird that I have to visit my family. And I was about halfway through the journey. And it was quite an interesting journey because I had 2 stops en route. The first one, I had to drop off my old guitar amp that I got when I was about 16 or so from my parents.
That's the one that you said you've been trying to sell it, right?
Yeah, after about a year or so, it's been sitting on eBay, and I finally sold it. So I dropped it off to the family who were interested, and it was this like 16-year-old, 17-year-old girl who was like super happy and so excited because she showed me her old amp when I delivered it, and I was like, "Wow, this is a bit of an improvement for you, isn't it?" So it was, and she was so excited and passionate, and it was nice to see that it's going to a home that it deserves because I loved the amp when I was younger. So I dropped that off, and that was all fine. And then I drove down another couple of hours to, I guess, like the northwest of England.
Okay.
And there I met with probably my oldest online friend that I'm still in touch with. Not oldest in terms of age, but oldest in terms of how long I've known. Guy called Brian, aka World Warrior. Knew him since my first month in World of Warcraft when I was about 14.
Nice.
So yeah, very old school friend there. So I finally met him in real life. We had dinner and we just chatted about stuff, and that was cool. Then I get back on the road, and I'm traveling the last 4 hours of my trip, so the second half, when I noticed the check engine light is on.
Oh!
And I'm not the kind of person who'll ignore that, right? That kind of thing to me is like, okay, it's there for a reason. I work as a software developer. If I have a big red flag coming out of my program, I'll try and fix it, right? Why would it be anything different for something that, you know, uh, has a combustible engine in it, right?
More moving
Not just combustion
parts.
engine. I do mean combustible, right? Like it itself can be on fire. So I stopped by a random petrol station, the first one I saw, and thankfully there was two RAC, which is like one of the main breakdown companies here in the UK, trucks there.
Okay.
And so I went and talked to the guys, and they said, "Okay, you got the check engine light. Have you done the basic stuff?" And I said, "Yeah, I've put more oil in the engine. I checked the fuel cap to make sure it's on properly and stuff because I know it can be things like that. I followed what Google said I should do, kind of thing."
Gotcha.
And they were like, "Okay, well, we're on our break for like the next 55 minutes, but we can book you in to see you as soon as we're done, or you can call out somebody." And I said, "Well, calling out somebody will probably take 2 to 3 hours, so I may as well just wait for you guys." So I sat in my car and played around on my phone for 55 minutes. And finally, the guy was free. He came over, popped up in the hood, had a quick look, shoved an electronic, I don't know, some type of like multi-cable into the car, got some readings out to his computer.
Yeah, normally
and
that's
ran a diagnostic.
Okay. I say normally that's an
And,
OBD scanner that they'll run.
Yeah, it's a nice thing with modern cars, right? Since they're all electronic, you can just like ask the car what's wrong.
Like, what has happened?
I mean, if the engine light's on, it means it knows something's wrong. So why wouldn't you be able to access that information, right? The thing is, the check engine light can be like 500 different errors because
It
there's
really
lots of moving
can.
parts in an engine. So that's why it doesn't just show on your dashboard. That's why you need a computer to attach to it. Anyway, so the guy plugs it in, gets the diagnostic information, looks at it, and sees that I have a faulty injector. And he says, "Okay, that's something that can be fixed." And the first thing he said to me when I stopped was, "Well, it's possible that it's nothing. Like, it might just be a faulty cable or something. And if it's not flashing, you're probably safe to drive. However, we can still check it out if you'd like us to." And I said, "Yeah, it's better to be safe than sorry." And when he checked it and saw that it was a faulty injector, he said, "Yeah, it's a good thing you got it checked because it's a quick fix now. But if you keep driving on that, that can do serious damage to the inner workings of the engine and like can eventually cause an engine to be replaced entirely." So he said, like, it's unlikely that would happen, but he says it's still possible. So it's a good thing you did what you did. So cost me £80 to get it fixed there and then, but I was very happy that the light went off and the car's happy, and I managed to make the rest of the journey safely. So that was all good. So other than that, I don't know what else to do. I went and saw a film today, but nothing really. I'll probably say that from my Geek Red. I also went to the yearly Ipswich Maritime Festival, which happened to be on this weekend while I was here. And I went down with my camera, thinking like, "Oh, this will be great. I can get some photos and actually do something creative instead of just sitting working in my hotel room." And so I brought the camera along. I brought my tripod, and I brought my flash just in case. There was a firework display at 10:15 at night on Saturday,
Nice.
which was yesterday. So I was like, brilliant. So I got myself set up. I had some time to kill, so I took some sort of long exposure shots of some of the rides, like turning and stuff. And those shots I'm particularly looking forward to seeing how they turn out, because a couple of them look pretty nice. I'm pretty proud of how they look so far. But, tiny little camera screen, that could be completely wrong. We'll see.
Yeah, it is hard to know the actual quality of that.
Yeah, it's always a little annoying when you think you have a good shot, you open it up and you're like, oh, it's all out of focus, or oh, there's a bug on the screen or something. Who knows? The actual fireworks, I wanted to try something new. I've done fireworks before, and I usually just do single quick shot burst shots to try and get some good photos. So I'll end up taking like 200, 300 photos of a single 5-minute event. I decided against that this time, and I wanted to try something new since I was playing with long exposure. So I put a neutral density filter on my lens so that I
Okay.
could do longer exposure shots. Basically, just darkens the shot so that the lens can stay open for longer without getting too much light in and ruining the shot. I actually put two on. I put an ND2 and an ND4 on together, since you can stack them. I don't know if that makes an ND8 or an ND6. I don't know.
Do not know how that works.
But yeah, I'm not too sure. But it probably does ND8. So I pointed at the sky, and I took a couple of long exposure shots, and they turned out okay. I mean, like they were interesting, but the problem was I didn't know where the fireworks were going to go. Like I didn't know which direction they were shooting them in.
Gotcha.
So my first 30-second shot, like 3/4 of the screen looks good, but you can clearly tell from a glance that I was pointing in the wrong direction and wrong orientation. And I missed like the big bulk of the center of it. So I then tried to fix it as much as I could, but the buildings and the cranes, because it was on the marina, right? So there's lots of stuff to move boats around. All around me made it quite difficult to get shots that weren't destroyed by a light on a crane or something that was just too bright for too long. So I didn't really get many shots of the fireworks, but the festival itself I got lots of nice shots of, or at least I got with 5 or so I'm happy with. So hopefully they'll turn out okay.
That's what matters.
Yeah, I mean, like that's the thing, right? With photography, if you should keep your eye open to multiple things while you're out and about on a trip. Don't just have a single task, because the likelihood is if you only take a couple of shots, they're probably not going to be good. I mean, a lot of photography is about timing, and our timing can't always be perfect, especially when it comes to things like fireworks. Like, I bet a firework technician doesn't always know when they're going to explode to the millisecond, right? It wouldn't know when to click down on the lens. So why would I?
So question, when you try to shoot fireworks, what is your goal? Do you try to do just the instance of the explosion, or do you try to capture like the entire launch of the firework?
Well, this time I was doing really long 30-second exposures, so I wanted to have like whole bunch of fireworks going off and all of their long, lovely trails, and I wanted it to be this huge, like, I don't know, just beautiful long exposure. I saw some online that looked really nice when you do the non-density filter stuff. And that was kind of my plan. But again, the problem was I couldn't aim the right direction, and then I was annoyed by the cranes and stuff. So, but yeah, usually when I'm doing it, I usually take like 5 to 10 burst shots of a single firework. So as soon as it explodes, and all the way out into the till it's crescendo, I try to do all of it.
Yeah.
And that way, like some of the shots at the very end might look better than the ones at the very beginning, or vice versa. And that way, I've got a variety to choose from. I mean, I think that's the best thing you can do with something as unpredictable as fireworks.
Well, and I was curious because I kind of bounce between when I'm shooting a fireworks show. It's been a while since I've actually done photos for one, but some of my favorites were doing those longer exposures. And when I really got set up well, I had an actual fireworks display where I kind of knew where it would be. I had set up a tripod and turned my camera so that it was looking upwards, not just horizontal, but more of a vertical orientation. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of catching the whole streak of the firework. And then I had an external trigger attached. And so I would do manual exposure. And essentially I would just wait to hear it go dunk. And then I'd hold down the open the shutter until it exploded. And I'd wait for it to kind of expand a certain amount and then let go. And in doing so, I kind of just caught each firework. And it was interesting.
That's cool.
Some I did shorter, some I did longer, just to play back and forth. Because the other challenge is if you're trying to capture the color and not have it oversaturate, you don't want it to be too long exposure. But I don't know, it's interesting. It's an interesting thing shooting fireworks. I enjoy it.
Yeah, that's quite a fun idea. I might have to try that. The thing that really concerned me, and I actually didn't bring all my photography stuff with me because I thought to myself, I'm going down to like the yearly festival of this, large town, almost city. There's apparently 65,000 people going to be there over the 2 days. I don't want to be walking around with my backpack, camera on, and half my camera gear strewn around me while I'm trying to do these shots. So I made a point of limiting myself. So I didn't bring any of my switches or anything like that, my external buttons and such. I just had the tripod, the flash, the main camera, and my 35mm lens because I didn't think I'd be needing my 1.4 aperture lens. Because fireworks probably don't need anything to do with aperture.
Gosh, and that's one of the challenges too, because to focus fireworks can always be a challenge.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you're shooting against the sky usually, and so unless you have one or two to focus on, that's always a fun experiment.
Yeah, that was the first thing I did. Was I pointed up to the sky. I waited for one to just explode. Focused on it as quickly as I could using the AI servo function, and then just put on manual after that. Then
Held
so
it.
it wouldn't complain
Yeah.
and try to focus every single time.
Oh gosh, when I
'Cause that's all
forget,
difficult.
yeah, the times I've forgotten and it's still on auto, and I'm like, no, stop it, since it has no
I
clue
did
what to do.
one stupid thing. I took a long exposure, but what did I do? There was something I did wrong. Oh no, I did. I started taking a long exposure, and I had the how to explain this? A tripod leg was touching like a banister nearby,
Okay.
just barely. Because I was trying to get in the perfect position, and I had to go quite far back from where I was. And there was this like kid, like 20 feet down the banister, just kicking the banister while watching the fireworks. And so that I could see the camera shuddering, and I was like, I'll just cancel the shot. And so I tried to cancel it, but then it kept like even though I turned my camera off, it said on the screen saving image, and I had to pull the battery out because that was the fastest way to get it to stop. Because otherwise, it would take another like 20 seconds or so.
Yes.
So annoying. It's annoying when your camera tries to be useful. Like, you probably didn't mean to turn it off. I'll just keep saving. It's like, no, I want to turn you off because that's why I turned you off. You know, but like that's the thing with any of this technology. Same with autofocus, right? Autofocus is a great thing until you're already focused and you don't want it to do it anymore. So I think that's a lot of what like firework and sports photography and any fast-paced photography like that is quickly changing settings back and forth, changing lenses, changing filters and such quickly so that you can get the shot that you need without preferably. That's why you want to master manual mode ideally, or as close to manual as you can, because that way you've got your settings all done. You know, you don't need to rely on anything that can screw up.
It's one of those things I definitely go back and forth on, because I also, I'm a huge fan of the manual mode part and trying to say like, hey, I need to know everything in my camera so that when I have this lens on and I know the kind of shot I have, I don't have to think about it as much. I just kind of switch a few things and I get the exposure I'm after, which is a big thing I tell to anybody. Play with it enough until you kind of intrinsically know what you need to switch to get the shot you're after. And so I got to a point where I'm pretty good at that, where I'll most often get the shot I want. I have a few little things I need to work on still, because there are times when I'm just kind of like, how do I put it? My focus isn't quite how I want it, and there's some artifacts in my images. I'm kind of like, why did that happen? And I honestly believe part of it is I've relied so heavily on one of my lenses that has an opportunity that it can be adjusted and kind of tuned in the lens. And I went through it once I got the tool to do it, but I didn't really take the time to see how was each change I'm making affecting it. And so I may have put some, poor settings in there essentially.
Yeah, that's one of the things with digital photography that people always say is solved because of digital photography. They say that because, with analog back in the day, you take your photos and you got to wait 2 weeks till they get ready, and then you find out if your settings are correct or not, and then you never know if they were or weren't. I mean, for me, that's still a problem. No matter where you go, unless you've got your laptop with you, and it's automatically live downloading and you can check there and then, you won't remember all the settings you did on the spot. I mean, yeah, you can look at the metadata and it'll say, you did a 1.4 aperture, you did a 1.8, you had auto brightness on or whatever, all this stuff, auto white balance. But it's not quite the same as playing with your camera, instantly seeing the results. That would be really nice. I think that's one of the things, if I ever had like a proper photo studio, is I would definitely have my camera hooked up to a screen nearby so I could see the shots in full as they're done, right? That would be amazing.
And
Imagine seeing your full HD, like 4K resolution, seeing your shots as they are. Then be like, oh, there's a smudge on the camera lens here. Let's not ruin this entire shoot now, because I didn't notice that before.
Let's fix that. Oh, yeah. No, I definitely have. I've seen studios set up like that, and it's something I should do here. In fact, as I've been hanging out in my basement, a little lazy because VR and projects and such, and haven't moved my computer back upstairs. It's an opportunity I probably could do and play with. But I should probably set up either a dedicated. I wonder if you can just do a monitor, right, or if it has to be on a computer. If there's a way you could just kind of video output or slave, especially
I think it's just HDMI out.
Yeah,
so
that's what I
I
was
think
wondering.
anything that can take HDMI would work.
I'll have to play with that, because that might be nice. And I just haven't done it. And I have extra monitors hanging around, so I think I could probably set one up like that in my studio just to be ready.
Well, that's the thing. It doesn't need to be like you don't need like a 4K monitor, right? Like even like like 25-inch 720p would still be a much better indication than a tiny camera screen, you know.
So I would definitely, no, I can see that. It would be nice to have. God, I need to try that at some point. It would be fun.
Yeah, I've got a little AV out, but I don't. Oh no, I have a mini HDMI out, so I could do it on my 60D.
We'll have to play with that. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
All right, so
last thing I wanted to mention, I think, was following the lines of photography. I'm still on Guru Shots if anybody wants an invitation. I'm always looking to invite more people. I'm on champion status now, so I'm 2 away from Guru, which is the maximum tier you can get to.
Nice.
So I think I'm on 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm 7 out of 9 so far, so I've achieved most of my goals. I need to get 2 more shots that are in the top 5% of challenges to graduate to master. So the thing is, I've not been using Guru Shots as it's intended. Like I don't do many competitions as okay, this is a new competition. I'm going to go take these photos now. Instead, I sort of look and like, yeah, I've got a shot from 6 years ago that'll do that.
yeah, I'm guilty of that.
Yeah, like that. Although actually, I think I'm doing worse than I ever have done on Guru Shots right now because there are 7 competitions open and I can't take part in any of them.
What?
Yeah, like let me read out a couple of them. Colorful vegetables. I have photos of fruit. I don't have any photos of vegetables that are like close in and purposeful. Covered by scales. Don't have that one. Single child in black and white. Don't have that. Go green. I have like 1 green shot, and that's it.
Look at that one. Wouldn't be too
fun
bad.
with green screen. I have never used a green screen ever.
Ish, but not much. I have never used like the normal chroma key software you'd have. I've mostly manually cut out and painted.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. Like the only time I ever properly edit a photo like that is if I do a really dark shot, and I want it to be properly black in the background, but it's not. I'll drop that bad boy in paint and just spray paint over all the black until it's black.
Yes, I have done many a similar to that. So I do understand.
Yeah. But yeah, that's everything I've been up to, and it's worth mentioning in a way. How about you, sir? What have you been up to?
Oh, gosh. What will I do here? Let's see. All right, I has notes. So, this is catching up a little bit of a, I don't know if apology or such, but for last week when we were both out of office, we did put up a stream of us, how should I put it? Of our attempt for me to check out a game that is, available
your new favorite
for
game.
all people to probably partake in. That of RuneScape. And not just any RuneScape, but RuneScape Classic.
No, we didn't do RuneScape Classic.
Or old school.
RuneScape
Old school. Sorry, old school. I forgot there's like 3 versions.
Yeah.
All of which are terrible. But
wrong.
So hopefully if you guys would like to or missed out, I had meant to try to schedule to actually play during the normal show time, but it's there. So it's just our last episode that was recorded, but it was done the Wednesday before, I believe. And so you can go check that out. It was a time, and I'll leave it to the experience of you watching. One of the mistakes that happened at the beginning of the stream is that I had installed RuneScape, the newest version, which immediately didn't surprise me so much because I thought, you know what, this would probably playing the newest version of RuneScape, and I was like, okay, this is so bad that I'm sure this is what Ken's playing on his phone. Only to find out that that wasn't the case. The one on the phone is actually a step down.
Well, it's a web app, remember. It's based on web technology. That kind of thing can run fairly well on a computer, but getting that to then run on an Android or iOS device is effectively trying to get code to be emulated. So it's running much bigger, memory and processor requirements than if it was on PC.
Well, because it's doing it in kind of containers and such as it's trying to do a lot of graphical things in something that is more available now with HTML5 and such like this, but I don't think the RuneScape old school takes advantage of that. Does it? Do you know?
If it takes advantage of what, sorry?
Like HTML5 and some of the built-in...
I don't know. I know the old school RuneScape was built in Java, and I know that they upgraded out of that. So it must be HTML5 that's running on. Let me find out.
Yeah, that'd be an opportunity, especially with newer games and stuff like that. However, I'm not sure if they ported or adapted over. It might be how it got onto phone devices, but I still think as its own app, it might be more. Still, it was an experience.
RuneScape 3, which is the current RuneScape, was released on HTML5 using SwiftKit.
Okay. So that I could see how that might...
Yeah, it's the old one still in Java.
Okay, yeah, Java. Ooh, that makes more sense. So, gotcha. So anyhow, yes, check that out. That was our content for last week, even though may or may not be... I don't know. You'll see if you are entertained or not. Regardless. So apologies for that. But while we were out, part of what was going on is, at least for myself, I was out on a mountain out in North Carolina doing some martial arts things. And had, I would say, quite a good time doing that. It was a fun time. Also with that, though, I will say... It reminds me that I am not a young spring chicken of a child like I used to be. And that the kind of, what I want to say, the level of thumps and bumps and bruises and things like that that I allow myself to do and get thrown around when training, my body remembers. And reminds me after the fact. So I think coming back, and as bad as I actually changed out my normal training day I do with my student on Tuesday to a, let's go get a massage. Because my back needs it. And even after that, I think I'm still...
Well, good for you for listening to your body as and what it needs. A lot of people wouldn't do that.
I'm still working on it, because I'm still feeling the effects. I mean, for the most part... pretty good, and definitely better. But man, do I feel some of the effects from that. But it was a good time, and got to hang out with some of the most amazing people I know. If it may sound just cheese for people who don't know themselves or don't do these things, but if you have the opportunity to hang out and be friends with Ninja, do it. They are good people, and so that was just really entertaining. So. Got to do that, did our normal kind of, we have some traditions that we have and that we keep trying to invite and expand into anyone else who joins us in this adventure each year, where we stop by on the way out to where we train in Winston-Salem, this town. There's a soul food restaurant called Sweet Potatoes that we really enjoy. And so we'd like to take people there because if, prepping to go train on a mountain the entire weekend to get dirty, muddy, and all these things, it is wonderful to prep with great home food or soul food cooking and such like that, which is just so good. So we did that, introduced more people, had a wonderful time, and on the way back, got to experience some things in Raleigh, and then travel back, and it was really good. I really learned some things, enjoyed some things. It was a wonderful time. So that's where I was at. That's what I was doing over the weekend. So just kind of wanted to throw that out. Did some martial arts stuff. Beyond that, I wish I could say my week's been, back has been more fun. Leading up to going out to that trip, I had some issues over the last couple weeks in my house where my air conditioner was deciding to kill itself again. And it has been warm out here in Colorado. And so I have prioritized trying to make sure I could get things fixed. And I don't know if anyone else out there has had to deal with getting HVAC things done, but it is not inexpensive. And so I have decided that this is one of those things I can mostly do myself and had done prior, because the first time I ever paid to have something done for the air conditioner, it cost me nearly $1,000, if not more. And I watched the person do it and figured out, like, oh, this isn't nearly as scary as I thought. And so this time...
Is this one of those things where you decide to try it yourself?
Yes.
Good for you.
It is one of those things that I have realized about myself, that I like being a jack of all trades in many things. I like having the confidence and comfort to feel like I can at least make an attempt to do things mechanically. And that for the most part, I tend to be successful, although I will admit that it often will take me longer than someone who's a trained professional because I'm learning. In this situation, the challenge was when I first did it, I figured what was off, that the fan inside was maybe unbalanced. And so when I got in there, I saw it bouncing around some. It was basically, as it spun, it was starting to wobble and hit its own enclosure, or the kind of shroud around it. And it started to sound like just banging, like ding, 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 but it moves at a pretty high RPMs as it spins. And so I shut it off and tore it apart. It took some time to figure out, and then I went and ordered parts, had to wait for that. And so I went almost a solid week and a half, 2 weeks with no AC when it was getting up into the 80s and 90s almost every day.
Oh, dude, that's crazy.
Well, nicely, could mostly manage in the house, kept fans on, and then at night would open all the windows, and then during the day shut everything up and try to minimize how much sun got in. So it was manageable. It still sucked, but it wasn't the end of the world. And so eventually got the parts and started getting it together right before heading out to go to the mountain for training. So got it all put together, told my cousin and all, like, hey, let me know if anything goes on, but here you go. And then at some point, and I want to say it was like as I was flying out, but because I was still in cell phone range and stuff like that, or it might have been when I landed out there, that I got a message from him saying that it was making funny noises, so he shut it back off. And I was just like, awesome. So I just yesterday took the time to get it all put back together, and now feel much better about it, because I came to realize it wasn't just that the fan was essentially unbalanced, and I still have a little bit of wobble even with the new fan. What it was is that the motor that spins it, the mounts that are welded to the side of the enclosure are actually kind of riveted on. One of them had sheared off completely.
Oh my god,
and
after being riveted on.
Like the two rivets on it had just were separated.
Jesus.
And so it was no longer attached. And so of course it was unbalanced. Only 3 of the 4 connections were actually connected. So as it starts spinning, it would start unbalancing itself and bang around. It was like, great. And so instead of wanting to replace the motor again, because the motor still worked, I decided to take it upon myself to re-engineer it slightly, and we'll see if it holds. But I actually drilled out holes through the brace and into the motor, and used a tap kit that I have, a die, to put essentially screw threads into the hole, and then I screwed it down. And so I took out where the rivets were and instead just screwed it down using some Loctite, making sure it was fairly tight connection, and tried, although I couldn't get it cleaned up enough to do it well, to solder around the edges as well to try to make it a little more sturdy. So sanded parts off of the metal and tried to get it to solder down, but I couldn't get it hot enough to really take. As well as I put in some silicone gasket material that is kind of permanent gasket, supposed to hold really well under any of the gaps to try to minimize the vibrations and any gap that might have been left. And so I did it all to this one mount, and then another one where the rivet, I think, had started to come out. I did it to the bottom of it and screwed it down, so it's much sturdier now. So hopefully,
Jesus, dude,
all of that will work and stay. So yeah, that was one thing.
God.
Other than that, around the house, here's all the fun, kids. Home ownership is I had to fix my sprinkler system again, and I'm still struggling with it a little bit. I think I have some kind of electrical issue that happens where at times it'll get stuck on a zone, which means just like one area will continue to water until I manually shut everything off, which is great until, it gets everything watered until it happens and you don't catch it for several hours. And then you're watering the sidewalk and the street because your yard is saturated. So that's been fun. So I've been doing this kind of in-between manual and auto watering schedule thing where I'll shut off the main water to it, and then when I wake up in the morning, it's like I need to water, I'll turn everything on and have it run, and it'll work. But I just have fear that I run the automatic mode where it should to time, that something is not working well. I don't know if it's in the timer or if there's something else like shorting out, or I just can't figure that one out yet. So that's been fun. But I did have to replace a couple sprinkler heads and things like that to make sure that everything is watering. I got that done. I've done some other around the house maintenance things of pulling weeds, and haven't yet gone out and resprayed weeds and stuff like that. But it's just all the little maintenance you have to do to just keep a house presentable so that your neighbors don't complain. So
I hate that stuff, man. Like, that's partly why I want to just go live in like a flat somewhere in a city where I only need to worry about like doing hoovering and I don't know, washing down the toilet or something. Like that's all I want to do. I do not want to touch a yard or anything. I don't care about that. Unless it's like a vegetable garden, that's the only thing that kind of interests me. Otherwise, I just don't care about maintaining a lawn or whatever. I don't see the point.
Oh, God.
I'm just too functional that way.
Well, and trust me, I do not see the point either, because it's just making something look unnatural for the sake of everybody else's aesthetic. I would much rather like sit down and have everything I'm doing be functional and useful. And so,
have you thought about replacing your actual grass with like nice paved stone or like nice stones? You know, with like
the stuff out here.
Or something.
Yeah, the way that it's done out in the States here, it's all called xeriscaping. People mistakenly say xeroscaping, but it's Xera. And essentially, the idea is it's based off a company that started doing it. It makes it where you change out a lot of your water, like heavily watered plants, to much more natural local variations and ones that require much less maintenance and water, and replacing some areas of it with, like you said, stone or other kind of materials that aren't anything that have to grow in a nice aesthetic way without it making it look like a desert or something. And so there are means to that. I think that's one of the few methods that's actually accepted around here, because for me, I started to just want to like slowly add other things in there so that I'm not having to just grow grass. But I'll figure it out, right? And I'm actually somewhat lucky because there's a type of creepvine weed that happens here that looks a lot like grass when it grows out. It just gives it a nice green appearance that has taken over a part of my lawn that actually is one of the harder ones to water, that I've been trying to work to kill it, but I'm not trying terribly aggressive because it actually makes it look like my yard's better than it is. It's so bad. Yeah, I don't understand why we want it so much. If I need grass, I can go to the park. I don't need it out front of my house.
I get it for the like global warming and like trying to help the environment side of things. Having a garden's good for that kind of thing, I guess. But I don't know. I just think there's people out there who don't necessarily want to have to maintain something once every few weeks. That just sounds like a total pain in the butt to me. And I've got a tiny little garden, and I am so bad for it. Like I'll go like twice a year to cut it back so that it doesn't annoy people on the pavement. Like people who walk past my house do not have to worry. They won't enjoy looking at my garden. It looks like crap, but I don't have anything coming out poking them in the face because it's functional, right? That's all I care about, is making sure that it's contained. You know, I just keep it contained.
I understand now, and I had to go out and trim trees. I need to go out and trim some more like dead branches on some of the trees, stuff like that. It's not terrible. I'll give it, when I think about it in the morning or something like that, an hour or two, and I get a surprising amount done. But it's definitely one of the lowest things on my priority whenever it comes up that I look and like, I need to take care of this. And so far, I've mostly staved off, and I almost want to do the like knock on wood because I'm sure it'll come. Any really bad nastygrams from my HOA, from the community group that watches everything. I had got one for the trees, but that was because some of the branches were hanging low over the street, and so they're like, you need to clean that up. You know, people can't park here without their cars hitting the branches. Which is interesting, because really, it was just my cars. And so I don't know who was complaining. It was just my little Miata that was having branches hanging on it. So, oh well. But yeah, so I did a lot of that. I did basically what I considered it in my notes is a whole lot of handyman stuff around the house for myself that I've been doing recently, trying to keep things alive. But I succeeded in most of that stuff now. So I've been actually surprisingly productive. Finally, I've also was helping out friends in the sense that one of my good friends from Game Fest is moving to a new house and asked me, or really anybody, and I jumped up saying I could help, where in doing the moving, his family had decorated their house very eclectically in ways they really enjoyed. And one of the things they had done is his wife and daughter had painted a mural on his bedroom wall, and he wanted to capture it, but he wanted to capture it with high resolution, so his goal being when he gets in a new place, they may be able to recreate it or have someone maybe print out like a wallpaper kind of thing and
Nice.
actually put
Like
it up
that.
on a wall. So I offered up and actually showed up because he basically said, does anybody have lights and like a nice camera? It's kind of like, I do. And especially the static lights, not just a flash or something where it might be inconsistent or reflect off the wall too much. And so the other day I ran up just real quick and set that up and took photos for him. That was neat. He's also, though, I wanted to kind of throw it out there, one of my friends he's the one that I know that is a part of the Saber Legion, which is a competitive lightsaber dueling group that competes around the world. He's one of their main officiators. And they just
Cool.
recently finished up their nationals or whatever, their final tournament of the year out in Las Vegas. And in doing so, they actually got featured on ESPN2 for a full hour where they had coverage of the event, which is pretty cool to get something as geeky and nerdy as lightsaber dueling on the sports ball channels. And so
Wow.
I want to give him a shout out for that one. I got to see some of the videos and stuff.
Yeah,
It's really
that's really
great.
cool.
As well as at a separate note, this is one of the few times I've seen him fight for some time. Normally he's been too busy working the events. And so it was really neat to see him get out there and actually duel. And especially because a lot of the people competing, most of them have some level of like custom armor they make. Because they have to have full pads and such so they don't get hurt. As well as essentially fencing masks. I think they're based off kendo style. And the decorations people come up with are pretty interesting. They'll often pick characters and try to look as them. Lightsabers, so you get a lot of Jedi and stuff like that. But he got to participate in a tag team match, kind of extra thing. I don't think it was an actual tournament thing that they were competing so much as just kind of an exhibition match. And in it, he was partnered up, because I think that both the people against him, one was kind of like a white Jedi looking and the other one more just kind of traditional. But he and his partner, one of them was dressed as a Crimson Guardsman, one of the Emperor's Guard. And really cool setup where he even had a mask that came over his mask that he wore as kind of a presentation thing before taking off and just having the mesh mask. And then his outfit was that of Skeletor from He-Man. And quite entertaining, because as he went out to duel, and he did it where his lightsaber was purple, and the Crimson Guardsman, of course, had red. And whenever he was out competing or getting points and stuff, he did the full like Skeletor voice and cackling and things like that, really living up the role of just having a good time with it. So I wanted to throw a shout out to Saber Legion and kind of the fun things they do. So
That's neat. No, very cool.
that's what I have for my non-geek this week that I've kept track of. So with that, we will go ahead and do a switch over to
I'm a geek. Are you a geek? Geek cred, level up!
And in Geek Cred, actually, I will start. We have a couple of emails.
We do, yeah.
And I think especially because both of them coming from the same person, but the different weeks. And I think partly because last week...
Would you like to give the original one, and I'll give the new one?
Yeah, that'll work. So I'll do the first one that we had from last week when we weren't running around here. This one says, Geek Cred. Greetings again, good sirs. It's Agrius SW here, again to share my geek cred. This week, I've been doing more research on ways to improve my Twitch streaming and to grow my channel while also watching some other streamers. I ordered something I never thought of getting, and that is a condenser mic kit, complete with boom arm, pop filter, and shock mount. It should arrive later today if it hasn't already, and I'm very excited to see how this will make my streams. I plan to give streaming a solid go and have plans to stream more in the future. I currently have a vote up on my page to help decide which game I will stream next from start to finish. Voting will close right after the show ends. To you good sirs and any other listeners out there, I ask you to please check out my channel and vote for my next game. And if you have the time, drop in, enjoy the stream, have some fun, and please follow me on Twitch. That is all I have for now, good sirs. I will email in again next week with an update on my thoughts with my new mic and setup. Thank you for taking the time to read my emails, and as always, keep up the great work. P.S. Yes?
I don't mean to interrupt, but I just noticed on our Twitch stream, it says we're playing old school RuneScape.
I fixed that. Although it depends on when you come into the stream. If you refresh it, it should say Show X now. Although it may not if it's just because of the game category thing.
Yeah, I think it's the game category. I mean, we can play RuneScape if you want,
Let's
man.
see.
If that's what you're trying to tell me, we can do that.
Josh.
Yeah, it definitely says that's the game right now.
I thought I fixed it. I forgot that it doesn't...
There's a link in the IRC for anybody interested in to Saint Uther's channel on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/Saint Uther.
And that came to us from Agrius SW, level 110, Human Paladin, the Guild Silverwings, Moonguard US, the Paladin, and husband-to-be of Ambrosia Heartnet. So thank you for the first email there. And then, Ken, I will let you go in the others. I try to figure out how to fix this.
And of our vast variety of listeners, we have another email here, also from Agrius SW. We do appreciate the email, seriously. Thank you. That's just more of a dig at those who didn't email. No, I'm kidding. Okay. Greetings once more, good sirs of ShowX. Agrius SW here again with an update to my email from last week. As I stated in my previous email, I bought myself a condenser mic to help improve the quality of my Twitch streams. My first test without an audio interface was not to my liking, so I asked a friend who owed me some cash to buy what I needed off Amazon. I like that. That's a nice direct way of getting money owed. Buy me these things. Here's a wish list. I need to do that more.
Nice.
After hooking up the mic and playing with my levels, my friend said my sound quality has improved and sounds crisper. I am very happy with my setup and look forward to streaming more games on Twitch. Links to mic and interface below. I don't know how we can share that. I'll do it in chat.
Yeah, I think chat's good, and I will put them in the show links on... I'll put on the links on the YouTube channel afterwards.
Yeah, and they're also in the video itself. So if you're really, really struggling, guys, you can type out from the video. Please don't do that. Where was it? Links are in the interface below. Okay, I will be streaming again after the show and continue my adventures throughout the Commonwealth of Fallout 4. If you can stop by and say hi and tell your friends about this odd but hopefully entertaining person you found on Twitch, please do. Thank you again for reading this on air, good sirs, and keep up the great work. No, thank you. We appreciate your frequent interaction with the show. It makes us feel good on the inside, and we're of course happy to help out any of the ongoing endeavors of our listeners. We wish you all the best, and just remember that when you get big and you have 5 million listeners and you're making the big bucks, feel free to give a shout out to your old buddies ShowX. That's all we ask. P.S. Big shout out to Soraya for my audio interface and Mr. Tom Bad Guy for more advice on building my Twitch channel. Oh, that's good of you, Tom. Good for you.
Tom is a wonderful resource for that. He does a lot on Twitch. In fact, he has provided with, if you ever watch my streams when I'm doing Majora's Mask, he provided the overlays for that, as well as some discussions on just kind of what makes a stream look professional and nice.
Nice. Yeah, it's always good to have friends like that. That's from Agrius SW, level 118 now, Human Paladin of Guild Silverwings, Moonguard US. The Paladin and husband-to-be of Ambrosia Heartnet. And then he also, again, gives another link out to twitch.tv/Saint Uther, so do check him out. I'll listen to your stream after the show, Mr. Uther, because I don't have anything else on, because I'm just done here for work, so I'll do that. All right, that's our emails done, and that's us done with our introductory segment. Shall we go to a break now, or do you want to get started on a Geek Cred now? What would you rather?
I was going to let you go ahead and get started, because I figured I wasn't sure how much you might have.
That's fair. Yeah, sure. So, first of all, let me talk about a film that I watched today, and technically yesterday as well. I watched The Incredibles yesterday. I signed up for a free 7-day pass to Now TV, which is like one of the major UK, like, I don't even know what you call it nowadays, sort of satellite TV providers. Called Sky.
Yeah.
And they have this online service called Now TV that you can pay a monthly service for on-demand streaming. This is like their like response to Netflix, pretty much. But you pay for tickets, so you pay for you can pay for like a monthly ticket to like Now TV cinema, and then you get like the kind of more recent films that are not in the cinema, but just out the cinema. Or you can subscribe to Now TV movies, which is the old school ones, or you can subscribe to Now TV children's kids stuff, or Now TV sports. If you get like all the tickets together, it's like £25 a month. Or you can just like pick and choose. And I think it's quite a nice system actually. It's a bit better than just having to do everything. And I kind of do appreciate that. However, they got this dumb thing where you have to download their software to your desktop. I'm assuming that's to try and stop people from. I assume that it's filled with encryption and all this other stuff to make sure that people are streaming legitimately. And probably also got a little bit of make sure nobody's screen sharing, etc. as well, recording all that crap in it. But you can't. It's not even like proper software. All it is just like a viewing interface. So you have to go to their website to find the thing you want to watch, and then it opens up the software for you when you click on it on the website.
Gotcha. It's just associated with whatever the link is, or the file type.
Yeah, it just feels a bit backwards. I feel like they're just not being as trustworthy as Netflix are, or they're not as good at web development, and so they had to make it into like a desktop-based software. And I just kind of dislike that. I don't think that was very good. Anyway, I signed up for the 7-day free trial because, like hell, am I paying for it when I already pay for Prime and for Netflix, and I definitely will be cancelling it in 5 days because it ain't worth it. But the only reason I got it was to watch The Incredibles last night because I hadn't seen it before. So I watched The Incredibles. I watched some in the afternoon yesterday and some in the evening, and it was pretty good. Yeah, I'll say I enjoyed it. And like, it was a bit different from the average superhero flick. It was a bit different from the average like Disney thing. And considering most Disney films I watch now, I get bored and like will just want to stop watching halfway through. I actually enjoyed this, so I guess that's saying a lot for me. Then today, I went to the cinema to go see Incredibles 2 because of all the things in the cinema, which is very, very little right now, considering I've already seen the latest Ant-Man. I really didn't have much else to go see, so that's why I wanted to watch the first Incredibles so that I could watch the Incredibles 2. Now, the first Incredibles came out in 2004, right?
Yes,
so
it's been a
they've
while.
had a good 14 years in difference in technology from the first to second. So the first one was still good. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it and everything. I didn't see anything wrong with it. It was as I would expect. Incredibles 2 in the cinema, holy crap! The improvement is insane. Like there's quite a few scenes where they're flying a plane through some clouds, or they land in some water, and you get to see what the water looks like, and then you see the reflections of the water on their skin and the likes. It was just a really, really pretty, beautiful film. Like the characters were still, kind of like blocky, what you expect because
they had the same design.
Yeah, they have the same design, right? You can only improve so much when you're intentionally trying to make them kind of basic looking. But the actual backgrounds and everything was just gorgeous. There was this one scene actually when they were looking up this tower near the start of the film, and it was like the biggest building in the city, and they're about to climb it. And they look up, and it ascends through the clouds, and it's looming, and there's this dark, foreboding thing. It looks like the clouds are kind of swirling around it. And I thought to myself, I would love to record that on I don't know, on a screen grab type thing in 4K resolution, then set it as like my desktop background and have it just slowly swirling around. That's how pretty it looked. I would really like that. And there was quite a few scenes where I thought something similar. I thought like that's just really pretty. I would watch this film again just to see these pretty things. In terms of the plot and the likes, I quite enjoyed the fact that they made like a play on the traditional nuclear family
dynamics
style.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the first film, Mr. Incredible is just the big strong guy, and he's the big superhero. And the wife's a stay-at-home mom who can do some stuff, and she's like super stretchy and stuff, but she's a stay-at-home mom. She's a bit feisty, but she's a stay-at-home mom, right? In this film, Mr. Incredible has to be the stay-at-home dad, while Mrs. Incredible goes off and does her own front page #1 superhero thing for like 3/4 of the film. And it's part of the plot, though, right? But it was quite a nice thing. It showed that not only did they make it so the main normal dynamics swapped, but they also didn't play into the normal trope of that itself by then showing the dad can actually do it and isn't just terrible. Because that's another trope, right? Like when the dad is lumped with the chore of looking after the children, and they're terrible at it. That's a trope in itself, right? But they actually did that and then showed that he was good at it eventually. It wasn't just the trope. They actually showed some character development.
Yeah, it showed the transition between, because admittedly he hadn't raised the kids initially, so it was a struggle at first, but it showed him really giving it his all. And admittedly, it was a real thing in that he was Mr. Incredible, and so he has always been like the center of attention, the one, right?
Yep.
And how wanting to be the good husband and wanting to support, he was there for his wife, but at the same time, there was a struggle for him in the whole process of it.
Yeah. I giggled frequently throughout the film. Not like laugh out loud, like I can't stop laughing type thing. Like when I watch burp memes on YouTube. But it's there's lots of scenes where I sort of like go, and that, just a short giggle.
Yeah.
The only thing that I didn't like with the film that I can really point out is that I saw it on release, which meant that it was filled with children, and there was kids crying throughout.
Oh,
which was
gosh.
pretty annoying.
Yeah.
The bits that I probably enjoy most that stick in mind for me is I loved that the baby was just this like ridiculously powerful superhero.
Jack
it was really funny.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And tell me,
they do such a good job of like well-timed humor with him. Like even though he can't speak, he does so much, not necessarily slapstick, but just really well-timed humor.
It is. I want to say that some of the interactions with Jack are like the best moments of the movie, and even stuff that was just hinted at, because the stuff he actually does, wonderful, great, fun, a lot of entertainment. For me, and I've heard this comment so many times about it, like, and I see if you can figure out the scene or what you would think. There is a moment that is alluded to where you don't quite know what happened with him, but something must have. And I want them to make a short just about that night.
I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I'm interested.
When Mr. Incredible is at his wit's end,
yeah,
and needs a break,
yeah,
and takes Jack to see Edna.
Yeah.
How we don't ever actually get to see what transpired when he
she explains it in the morning. She says
she mentions it, right?
He basically went to sleep, and she just made a suit in a creative frenzy.
No. There's more than that, because Jack's interaction with her that next day, where he is basically mimicking her.
Oh yeah.
Tells me that somehow they bonded. They bonded
well. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
yeah,
but that's what I mean. It just they do such a little bit in the scenes there to, at least for me, really make me wonder what that night was. How he went from just terrorizing, running around, whatever, to her having figured him out almost completely, and him mimicking her and just getting along. And I was like, what happened? Oh my. And so, like, I am desperate for wanting to know more about that one because it was so entertaining. I am really happy to hear your take and kind of that you got to go see them, and especially that you took the time to see the original before going back and seeing the new one.
Well, I figured that because there's a 14-year gap, and people I know have been talking for years saying, where's the next Incredibles film? I've heard that for years, right? I figured it was a must-see first. I feel like I'd be doing myself a disservice if I didn't see it first.
And I'm glad you did, because I love both Incredible movies. I like their take on being superheroes. I like that it uses some traditional kind of powers and abilities, but I really enjoy the perspective they give on them and how they go about using them. Because like in the first one, a lot of that was how the son was trying to figure out what his roles were and how he lived life and did things. And then the daughter, especially in the new one, kind of dealing with that, the teenage life and what it means and just all these little things. And what
I like that they didn't play on that too hard, though, because that can be quite annoying if it's like very teenage love story, right? Instead, they just sort of said a summary each time something happened, like, this is where we're at, and that was kind of nice.
Well, I liked it because they still spoke to it, and they still gave her a legitimate time for what she was dealing with. But I really appreciated how they went about it, like the things that occurred around her for it, because it had some reality to it, and her disappointment with some of the things that occurred, and how Mr. Incredible was trying so hard to do things for his daughter, and how it kind of blew up on them all, but also how they then worked through it, and really appreciated that. And so, at least for me, I was a big fan of just all the characters in it, even down to the villains and such. I really enjoyed those movies. I think they're pretty masterful. And so it's...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was really impressed. Like, every second was clearly well crafted. It's a Disney film, like, right? So it's going to have a lot of effort in it. But when I left the cinema today, I was walking down one of the long corridors on the way out, and it was kind of empty. And I thought to myself, you know what? We are so spoiled in this day and age with films. I remember when in the 2000s to 2010, I felt like if I went to go see an action film, it'd be the same as every other action film. You know, if I went and watched a TV program, it'd be the same as most other TV programs out there. If I wanted to watch a crappy sitcom, they'd all be the exact same, right? I mean, like, how many times can you see Everybody Loves Raymond or Frasier on TV, etc.? They're all the same, right? They're all just the same crappy humor. But now, when we see something that's new and well-produced, it's like, we've got Vikings, we've got Game of Thrones, we've got Breaking Bad, we've got these amazing Disney films, and then the Avengers films. They are the league of their own. We are so freaking spoiled. Every single second is crafted to perfection nowadays. Whereas previously, it was just a cut and paste with new characters and slightly different dialogue.
We really are getting wonderful entertainment. Not all of it. There's some things that are trash. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, mumble rap. That's garbage. Just putting it out there. But
no. What is, sorry?
Mumble rap.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh God, it's the new outcropping of people who want to claim that they're hip-hop artists or rappers, but don't have the ability to actually articulate a language. And instead, they just kind of...
You're kidding.
No, what it is it's a lack of craftsmanship and poetry. It's mistaking what it is to be hip-hop, what it is to essentially, honestly, be rap, and think it's just about saying words to a beat. Not realizing that most good rappers, and especially ones from back in the day, were telling stories and really doing more spoken poetry. And the skill they craft.
I'll say this: there are different elements to music that are good and are bad. For example, lo-fi hip hop, a lot of people would say isn't music because it's so repetitive, but I think it's amazing, right? Even though I understand it's not the most unique thing in the world, and you know, take the average one song compared to another, they'll be pretty much the same. I still enjoy it, and I think mumble rap can probably be enjoyed for what it is.
No,
but you have to sort of concede that it's not got the story, the correct writing, or the stories, or the charisma that the other one does.
No, mumble rap is garbage in all forms.
Well, it's like when think about atonal music. It's something that I don't personally enjoy. But I appreciate that some people will enjoy atonal jazz, for example, because they enjoy the rhythms in it more than they enjoy the tonality, and they enjoy listening to something different.
Yeah, no, it's an aspect.
But they have to accept that it's not tonal, right? So they can't say, oh, that's a beautiful transition from I don't know, from the first to the fourth chord there. It was beautiful. No, of course not. It's going to be like the fourth chord to the I don't know, 3-point tooth or something. Right, you have to accept that it's not on the same level. It's something different entirely. It's its own spectrum. They can't be compared. The problem comes when people say like, "Oh, mumble rap's better than normal rap." Then you can like punch them in the face and say, "No, you're incredibly wrong."
Okay, this is not going to come across well. In fact, what I'll do is send you a link for this, Ken, so anyone can Oh God, this is terrible. This is a YouTube thing, and at your leisure, feel free to go and kind of
shove it in chat.
Yes, I'll throw this in chat. This is a comparison video where it's called Mumble Rappers versus Lyrical Rappers. And I will just play a little bit of it. We'll see if we get too much trouble on the show for it. But this first one is, 6'9", I guess, Kiki? And so as I kick this one up... And essentially, it's just... What you get is these people that just have this ridiculous visualization to themselves. They're also, it seems how often they have crazy tattoos, funny hair, and stuff like that. That's just not, I don't know. It looks like the best memes I've seen about mumble rap is when you just take pictures of some of the famous ones who do it, and you put a caption on there is like, "Don't do drugs, kids. Meth kills." And
well,
you look at the image,
comment,
and you're like,
comment on that.
Oh, I didn't look at it yet.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to play any.
Yeah, but
the top one says, is it 1.2k upvotes? mentally challenged rappers versus what rappers should sound like. So yeah, I was just saying what you just said.
It is not far off, but I do challenge people to listen to those, and I don't know. I have yet to hear a compelling argument for why mumble rap exists other than people just want to hear some kind of rhythm behind them and don't really care what words are in there, and are willing to have people just talk nonsense without actually crafting stories or rhyming or any of the things that were what started rap. And so it's hard to even consider this noise rap. And I know I'm old, and maybe I'm just sounding like the crotchety old guy telling kids to get off my lawn, but no, this is, you know, there's a lot of music out there that you say every generation has the stuff where they're like, oh, this is garbage. I will say this is an entire subgenre that is garbage and should go away. And I don't know why people spend money on it. It makes no sense to me. There's so much good talent out there. Why are you bringing up this nonsense? So, it's sorry, unpopular opinion maybe.
No, fair enough. That was interesting. I didn't know that existed, so I've learned something today.
It's something that I'll see across my social media on occasion because those of us who are older who remember when rap started and you know how it's grown over time, and we just feel like we're at a stage today where whatever the current generation who's trying to do it is trying to present and make their own was a mistake, and they went a bad way and should stop. This is, I think it's what happens when you have entire generations of kids growing up on Ritalin.
Let's just mumble to the beat. I'm really excited. Let's just mumble to the beat.
It's so bad.
I don't have time to learn the lyrics. Let's just go.
Seriously, it bothers me to no end. Anyhow, I totally got off track with this, but I'll throw it in there and just say if people want to check that out at some point, you can form your own opinions. Feel free, if you disagree with me, to email in at showx@vtwproductions.com and tell me why I'm wrong. But that's definitely what my opinion on the subject is. Anyhow, we are going to take a break. And due to, and even though I don't have any stories in about it because I haven't experienced it, but I'd love to hear stories from all of you, the recent launch of the newest expansion for World of Warcraft, I will play this song from our friend over at our friend the Brew Guy, and this is one of his classics. So we'll be back in about 4.5 minutes after this musical break, and we will see you soon. You're listening to Show X on VTWProductions.com, and we'll be back right after this.
Send in your emails to showx@vtwproductions.com.
And now you smash your hands on your keyboard.
listening to Show X on btwproductions.com.
Ah, caught it. Hey, everybody.
Goodbye.
Almost. Not quite there yet. Welcome back to the show, everyone. And sorry about that. Admittedly, I hear as I talk about being able to fix my AC, I also hear little bits in the background of like, so it may still be a little more unbalanced than I would like. So hopefully it won't catastrophically like kill itself here.
Yeah, I do feel sorry for you with that. Do you have any fans or anything in the background at least?
I do have fans and other things to kind of work with it, so it's not, I don't know. It's just something I need to keep monitoring on so that I don't cook the entire house, but I'll figure it out. Well, let's see. So, coming back out to talk about our geek. Let's see, did we get through everything you wanted to say about it, Ken? Or did we actually get into yours?
I had one more thing. What was it? Oh, I'm now on Dresden Files' book. Oh God, what's it? I know what it's called, but I can't remember which one it is.
What's it called?
Blood Rights.
Ooh, okay.
Or did I finish that one? What's the one after that? No, yeah, I'm still on this one. I'm on this one.
And how are you enjoying
I'm on
that
Deadbeat.
so far?
I'm on Deadbeat.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm getting there slowly.
Well, you say getting there slowly. How are you feeling about it right now? Because Deadbeat puts you right about in the middle, just before the middle of the overall series of what's released so far. Book 7.
I feel like Jim Butcher at this stage in his sort of writing career, he's sort of realizing the I don't know, not necessarily he's sort of establishing the boundaries more clearly. Like before, it sort of felt kind of whimsical and like anything could happen, and you know, every book there was something so fantastically new that we didn't quite understand the universe. I think now I'm getting to the point where I feel like there's an obvious bounds of the powers so far, like how they're laid out in the likes and where things stand, and some things are finally being established more clearly. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in this. Okay, slight spoiler. I am so terrified to see what happens with the fallen angel stuff, because that is just, it's only been lightly touched on so far, and I like, he keeps treating it like it's this background unimportant thing. Like, I don't understand why he didn't go straight either to the, like, to be fair, I think this constantly, like, he should just be constantly going up to the council and be like, help, I did something dumb. Or he should go over to his lovely knight friend and saying, help, I've been tainted. Please
Michael,
cleanse
I need
me.
help. Well,
yeah, either cleanse me or cut off my head. I mean, honestly, if he's in a universe where he knows that souls exist, angels, fallen angels, therefore kind of a god, and so on exist. Like, I'm an atheist, right? But if I met an angel and a bunch of demons and stuff, I'd be like, you know, this is really falling into the whole Christian doctrine thing. Wouldn't really be about faith anymore. It's kind of more evidence-based, right? I'd probably start thinking about, you know, counting those chickens about atheism and seeking, I don't know, absolution. You know, I would go seek my soul's preservation. But he doesn't seem to care. I just don't get it.
He has his own view of the world, and admittedly, it's fun because I think Jim goes into details as it goes further and further in as to why Dresden believes and acts the way he does. And you start learning more and more about his past and the things that have influenced him. That for me, I know I've just continued to fall down like the ride that are these books. I quite enjoy them, and I think they all grow upon each other. I like how things that were introduced early in the series will come back and have meaning and be good later. And so I'm excited to see how it progresses for you, and I kind of know where this one's going for you. It's...
I don't know. It's just, I'm of the opinion that if you refuse to believe in the kind of obvious religion at this stage, then you can only really then, you may as well just be evil, because there's established power in the universe. He believes that there's good and evil, but he doesn't really believe that there's any reward for being good or anything like that. He just thinks that the world is what the world is. Therefore, you can use these dark magics, but not be evil. Then, right?
Well,
why not do that? Why not
he-
take on these evil magics, take them into you, but then be good?
He doesn't actually believe that fully. He talks about how his view of magic is that magic comes from the good in the world and that magic should be all for good, but that others taint it, that others treat it poorly. And some of what they do talk about, some of the things that are the laws of magic in the world, that if you go against them...
yeah, but that's said by the council.
Well, it is, but it's based off some...
like them.
He doesn't like the council, but he does have some of the basis for why they do the things they do, and he backs it up in a few examples throughout the stories. But examples where if you do something egregious, like actually use magic to manipulate someone's mind, how that's a killable offense, because they talk about things becoming addictive, that once you do it once, it's really easy to justify again and again, and the people who do it, even when they do it under good intention, don't understand the damage they're doing to people. And so they do show examples of what they consider warlocks or people that have gone off the path that have magic ability, how once they start using what they consider evil magics, they just do it more and more and get worse and worse about it. And so they do back it up to some level of, this is evil because it caused, when people touch this stuff, they just continue to do more and more.
Okay, I get that, but I still don't get why he hasn't gone and seeked out help for becoming one with a fallen angel who's trying to corrupt him and take over his soul. I mean, why isn't that a priority?
It will get in there more and more. They will continue to talk to it. It's interesting because a lot of, I think, Jim's style is to introduce something early on and make it trivial to then have it become a major thing later. And so I think he runs kind of through that formula in a lot of ways where something might almost be ignored or completely just missed that was something that happened whenever. And then when it does come back up, you're like, oh snap, I remember, oh, this is bad. And something like that. And it gets, I don't know, it's interesting. For me, there's a certain weight to the way he does it.
I think it's so arrogant of him as a wizard who has clearly started working with the, I can't remember the name, the Fist of God is what they call Michael, right? Working with him because he knows more than Harry does about a lot of the demonic stuff going on. He almost touched the coin in the first place, halfway through the book where he actually does, right? Until they stop him, right? And they pick up with the handkerchief and stuff because they know it's bad. They clearly know more than him. But as soon as he touches it, he thinks, oh, I can handle this. I'll just put it in a circle under some cement and put some wards on it. I know what I'm doing, even though he clearly had no idea, hours before. Why does he think that? He's so arrogant.
It's, like I said, I believe they do some good examples to kind of show his motivation throughout. And so, I'd say stick with it. There's some things I did and didn't like fully, but for me, I really enjoyed the ride up until the one that challenged me the most was the last one I finished, which was Ghost Stories.
I saw on Reddit people were saying that that's the most unique one out of the whole series.
It caught me off guard, and for the first almost half of the book, I was struggling. But by the time it finished, I was like, okay, I like that. There were just aspects about it. And so it is an interesting ride that I think Jim has taken me on, at least through the series. And I struggled a little bit because I basically ran out of books. I finished the ones you had gotten me, and I was like, crud! And so I ordered more. And finally got the rest of the ones that are out there. I'm glad you
enjoyed them that much.
Oh, I did. I was surprised with actually how fast I got through it all. And to a point which touches into mine a little bit, is that, and I forgot to put in my notes, I just finished reading Rise of the Horde, the World of Warcraft book that talks about how the Horde first was created and how Sargeras through Archimonde? I forget the name so well. Basically, the original story of how the Draenei and the Orcs lived in somewhat harmony originally before they were influenced by the Burning Legion. And just kind of that backstory, which was great for me because it has been a long time since I've played Warcraft and the regular RTS series to get the whole storyline. And
well, the problem is that so much of it's been retconned now. Like Warcraft 1, 2, and 3 has a bunch of stuff in it that's no longer technically correct.
it's got some things that are, but there's still a lot of the story that comes through it, and it's weird. So admittedly, I went on, and I will try to find it here because it was actually kind of what started me in this as well. I started watching, what was it? There was a channel on YouTube that I followed or started watching. Yeah, it's Noble87. And essentially, this gentleman went through and just did a ton of videos about lore in Warcraft.
Oh, it's just the chap that passed away like a few months ago.
I don't know. I don't know how.
There was one famous lore dude who.
I don't think so. This one I still see
see
things being posted up through a couple days ago. But this gentleman started back in like 2012 or 13, and basically built these compilation storylines or backgrounds of the whole lore behind all the Warcraft series, including specific characters. So he'll do one that's like, and I think his first one was the lore. It wasn't Jaina. It was Sylvanas, I think. He started out with like the entire storyline of Sylvanas, and then another one of Jaina Proudmoore, one of Arthas, one of, I haven't seen the one on Thrall yet, but one of Illidan, like all of the characters, right? And in doing so, he'll use some of the same clips and storylines going back and forth, but he references the games, the books, World of Warcraft, the lore in World of Warcraft, the movie, like all of the pieces together, and puts them into a one coherent storyline, which is really good. It's really good.
That's really useful, because otherwise you gotta start piecing things together.
Well, he's got like the story of Kel'Thuzad. He's got just all of these things that talk through all of the lore in Warcraft. And so I started watching some of those while also reading the book. And it's funny because the book tells a nice story, and it's actually, I enjoyed it. It was a bit of a change from what I've been reading with Jim, so the pacing caught me off guard. But I was enjoying it, and it gave me some of the backstory to some of these other events that I have to admit it has been so long, and by the time I was playing World of Warcraft, I just was missing, like, why certain places and things were important. And now it goes back and it sucks, because having gone through these stories, I'm a little more curious to see some of these stories and experience them. What's that laugh for,
I think that you're meaning including Warcraft 1, 2, 3, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm including the original Warcrafts. Well, because there was things, I played Warcraft 3 and Frozen Throne, and I miss or forget so many of the pieces of it that were the real story behind. Like the actual fact that
Warcraft 3 was one of the best games that was ever created, and as shown by the multiple Game of the Year awards, right?
Oh, it's huge, and it tells so much of a story. But that was the problem, is because I just kind of played the game to win it, and I beat it. I was like, yeah, I'm good at this game. I don't think I really bought or understood all of the nuances and all of the different story arcs that were going on in there. And so hearing this lore and reading some of this stuff myself has given me so much more to pay attention to, that it's been really entertaining. And I will tell you, yes, there was a huge, gosh darn it, draw to want to play the games again, including the new garbage. I say that in the worst way. No, so, and I agree, St. Luther, yes, Blizz needs to HD remaster Warcraft 3 and Frozen Throne so bad. All of them, really.
Yeah. They make so much money.
God, they would. Because I started... So I will admit, I re-downloaded WoW.
Oh, here we go. Never again.
Shut up.
Never again.
Shut up. And mostly because of the story from the book. And I had started a character one time before on one of my accounts, or one of the servers, that was a Draenei. But I didn't know their story, really. I just like, whatever, these little alien things that magically show up. But now reading the stories, it's like they're such an integral part to the entire storyline.
Yeah.
Because
Draenei are quite important.
Yes, because the main reason the Burning Legion exists and comes to Azeroth is all because of the Draenei. And because the whole story behind the original 3, when they were the Eritrea or something? I forget the name of their original race before the Draenei. And what was it? Who are the main 3? Because Velen is the prophet that did not drink of the basically the Burning Legion didn't take the power, but the other two did.
Oh, the Maghar orcs.
Well, no. This is Malfurion. No, the bosses, the actual Draenei that did. And so it's.
Oh, sorry.
Is it Malfurion? No, one of the ones starts with an M. Yeah, no. The other one starts with not Malfurion. It's. Come on. Thank you. Kil'jaeden and Archimonde. Thank you. I was waiting for someone to save me. Saint Uther for the win, for the save there, and. So yeah, I decided to run a tune, and so I may or may not have created a female Draenei on Moonguard to at least start walking through the storyline. And it was interesting because I was doing this in parallel to reading the book and watching some of the lore things, so there were different orders of the story I was getting. All the same story. But part of me, I was still wondering, like, wait a second, when they go to Azeroth, though, the Draenei, how did they get there? Because it was like, no, the Horde went through.
Oh, that's a huge thing, dude.
Well, so when they first went to... when the Draenei first arrived at the Orcs' homeworld, what was the Burning Crusades, and what was the name of their world that got corrupted? Because Kalimdor is the new, was the original continent.
Azeroth's the name. No, Kalimdor is a continent on Azeroth.
Yeah,
right?
And so the other area.
So you're talking about Outland is what we call it.
Yeah, Outland now, but what the word they had for it, what the Draenei... So Durotan, or what did the Draenei call it?
It's Draenor.
Draenor, yeah, so Draenor, because they had named it as being part of their outcast and such, being part of that. I am so late to the game, everyone can laugh at me, yes, I know. That this is lore that's been around forever.
We're laughing at you for saying that you're never going back to WoW and then doing it.
So the whole point, though, is because this is the first time I've ever cared about the lore in this way. And the story.
Wow, okay. Dude, it's fantastic.
Well, that's the thing. I always played the games to play the games to win. And when I first came to World of Warcraft, when it first launched, it was cool. For me, it was the experience of seeing a lot of these worlds I'd played in 3D and kind of running under the arches of whatever and into these cities and like Lordaeron and stuff like that. You're like, oh man, that's really cool. Now, having gotten all the storylines and seeing how it all connects, it's even more so because the Draenei were...
Have you ever spent much time on WoW Wiki?
No, I never cared to.
Oh, dude. Just, like, think of one thing you find interesting, like, I don't know, Illidan's swords, or, I don't know,
there are stories, yes, there are stories behind everything in the game.
I have spent so many hours, especially when I was working at my previous company. I would find myself like, oh, I'm going to read this one WoW Wiki. And then I'd be like, oh, it's been 7.5 hours. I've spent my entire working day like reading up on WoW lore.
Well, and so thankfully where I work today, every once in a while I can put things in the background while I'm doing other things. And that's how I was getting through some of the lore stuff because he's doing videos that are an hour to 2 hours long talking about a single character. And it's so good. So... that has got me an appreciation. I will admit, I have not subbed, okay? I just did a quick, the free to 20 type thing, just to kind of play through the intro area and look at it again. And admittedly, it looks pretty compared to when I first started playing WoW. Reflections are so much better now. But I wanted to get some of those actual story elements that were in the game that...
Well, dude, I really want to play again. I just can't while I'm down here.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to actually sub, I'll consider picking up and subbing myself.
So, and we'll see how my free time opens up here after con season here ends for me and stuff like that. Part of me wants to, but if I do, gosh, I want to be able to, like specifically focus on the lore and doing the quests and stuff that will help me see the story and things like that. That's what I'm after.
Well, technically, all the quests do that, but a lot of them are kind of,
Sort of. Well, but like, I never did any of the raids. And partly because they had the big villains, right? Because I know that you go and you fight against Kil'jaeden and Archimonde at some point, right? Yep. And I know you even go up to their boss, Sargeras, at some point. You fight them all. And it's just, I never cared because I didn't know who they were or why it mattered. And such. And so the books and everything add so much to it. And at the very end of this book, because it's basically its own standalone piece, and it's Thrall recounting this, like he is writing down the story that his father had told him what he had learned, kind of thing. Or more what he had learned, because I think at the time he was pretty much abandoned as a child, but things he had learned from his father's perspective and from was it Ogrim or something? Doomhammer.
Ogrim Doomhammer?
Yeah, from Doomhammer, because he was friends with Thrall's father. And so he learned a lot of the history through that, and so it's him kind of transcribing for the Horde as he's now the leader of the new Horde at the time frame of it, but talks all through what his father did, and that when Gul'dan and everyone started the challenges, and actually before Gul'dan, oh gosh, I keep saying his name wrong, what Nazrael or such, the one that becomes the Lich King initially, and becomes that is embedded in the armor later by at that point, is it Sargeras that does it? I don't know. There's so much to it, so many different back and forths.
Oh, Ner'zhul.
Ner'zhul, yeah, the original orc shaman that led the orcs astray. Just
yeah. So also, you're talking about the lore in the game and how you didn't really notice it before. Did you ever play Horde at all?
I was Horde. I that's all I play.
Okay. Well, do you remember? Were you an orc?
No, I was undead first, and then I came back. After I did my undead, I came back, did a Death Knight for a little while, which I still don't love their storyline and how they fit in. Death Knights are still annoying to me.
Death Knight's a class, not a race, though.
I know. It more felt like the Death Knight is its own thing, where the race didn't matter as much.
Yeah, you're kind of right.
So that just, and then beyond that, I did. What was my other? I never did orcs or trolls. I started, I think, a Blood Elf, but of course felt dirty about it. I did a Tauren.
The reason
I did was a Tauren Druid.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's quite close by. So the reason I was asking is because orcs and trolls start in an area near Orgrimmar, right?
Yeah, essentially
and that area
Orgrimmar
is called Durotan, right? Durotar.
Durotar, named after Durotan.
That's because Thrall named after his father when he first founded Orgrimmar, right?
Yes.
So that like the lore is all throughout the game if you pay attention.
Well, and that's the part I never understood. And now after reading and seeing names of things, I'm like, well, yep, that makes sense. Huh. I should have caught that. So it's more just I am getting more interested.
There's so much good lore. The Arthas stuff as well just now is quite relevant with what's going on with Sylvanas. There's a lot of mirroring in the cinematics that came out with the recent expansion.
I've watched all of those now. If you watch
what Arthas did in Frozen Throne, you can see a lot of the stuff from what's going on with Undercity X Lordaeron, right?
Yes. It's an interesting arc with Sylvanas, and I do like the idea for Battle for Azeroth as an expansion that it is truly the the Horde and Alliance going against each other again. Because I think that was one of those draws to the original game. And when they're really talking about getting back to some of the things that brought people in, I love it. And it's funny to me, and actually I'd be really curious to hear your guys. Okay, this is perfect for the discussion right now for all y'all out there. Because we all played WoW, we all got into Warcraft, we all did it to some level. How many people out there, or what are your thoughts about the Horde coming off as just evil right now? With Sylvanas burning down, was it Therisol or something? The World Tree essentially, or whatever, the Turnassus, thank you, the Night Elf's home. Just burning it out of what seems like sheer spite. Because
it's not spite. If you look through the sort of, I think it's actually one of the short stories that was released for free in the past 2 weeks. It explains Sylvanas' backstory and why she does it. In the cinematic, it does seem like it's for spite. But
well, because the initial one when she actually changes it from just wanting to break their souls to burning is when the one Night Elf basically responds like, "You'll never have us," or whatever, and it's like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah.
And then she just turns into like, burn it all. But the idea...
Oh, that's where it mirrors, right? That's why they actually shows... That's why the cinematic shows the Lich King's perspective, because she's doing the exact same damn thing, right?
And that's where I haven't seen all of her like motivations, but I'm really curious. But anyhow, my question for everyone out there is, I saw some chatter, a lot of people saying that they basically were really unhappy that the Horde's coming off as being complete dicks. That it's going evil again. And a lot of people trying to fight the lore saying that, but the other council and people that are part of the Horde would never have let Sylvanas do this. And should have challenged her. And so I'm just kind of curious, because part of me, when I started playing WoW, I liked that the Horde were basically evil. I started playing...
They weren't evil at the start of WoW.
I started playing Undead. We were evil. Because at the
Undead were very questionable, to be fair.
Well, the beginning of the Undead as an Undead rogue, the Poison quest was amazing because it talked about yeah, we're going to make this stuff. Thanks for trying it out on those poor, like, farmers over there. And now that that was a success...
but to be fair, okay. The thing is, a lot of the stuff that they try to portray, the people try to portray on the Alliance side, usually, as evil, is technically what we do right now in the real world as a sort of tactic to, you know, cut off supplies and such, right? Like, it makes sense to cut off the food supplies for an army in a continent that you're trying to conquer, right?
Yeah.
So, Undercity, Lordaeron, cutting off food supplies for the Alliance, obvious and clear cut, right?
It is military strategy, yes.
But, yeah, but admittedly, they don't exactly do it with any pity because they're undead. They don't give a crap.
Right.
They were just rejected by
They
them,
want everyone else to be
They were
undead.
trying to use buddy, but they couldn't.
So with that, though, I'm just curious, because for me, there's a certain point where I really enjoy the idea that the Horde's actually getting back to being a little bit dirty and evil. Because the people I've seen complaining about it, I feel are the ones that really enjoyed when Blood Elves came out. And when suddenly the Alliance were allowed to be Shaman and the Horde were allowed to be Pallies, so they could be Pallies on the Horde side, because I'm one of those purists who are like, screw that. There's a certain honor that we will fight against you bubble pally nonsense and still win. And that Horde was kind of like hard mode because we didn't have the easy class, the pretty class, and kind of those things that the developers back in the day admitted but won't now, that they made those races the way they did because they knew kids would mostly align with the Alliance because they had the prettier races and they were the good guys in a way. And that a lot of adults did migrate to the Horde because they were like, heck yeah, I'll be these guys.
I would like it if, rather than the Alliance and the Horde being based on racial alliances, I'd really like it if at the end of this expansion they released maybe WoW 2. That'd be ideal, right?
That's never going to happen.
Made it, then instead of it being Alliance versus Horde, it became this, not racial, but a split of I don't know, beliefs, or either based on religion or creed or whatever. But then you could create any race and class and go to either side, so long as you, like, then you could have, like, one faction that can do the kind of more evil stuff, but you could do it as wherever you want, and the lore could be your own. I mean, you can get Tauren. Tauren are almost always these peace-loving hippie cows, right? Like, they are. But then you can also get Tauren Death Knight, and they're quite evil, right? Like, in theory. So why not have them join an evil faction? That is totally cool. Or not necessarily evil, but, like, you know, lawful or unlawful or something, you know?
Hey, I like
the idea of multiple factions.
I can understand the factions piece and stuff like that. I appreciate them creating more of a rift between the two sides. I think they had gone down a path where everyone could kind of play together and it didn't matter, and let's all raid together, woohoo! That this, I think, is much more to the core of what WoW is about and what the lore and everything is about. And yes, as Copy says, the Horde's not evil in itself, but you have these motivations from some of the leaders that is not honorable. And I'm not necessarily against that. Because, yeah. I just think, as an undead...
that's why it had to be Sylvanas, right? Any Orc or Tauren is going to follow some kind of creed, even if it's based in battle.
Okay, to a degree. I'm trying to think, because Orcs had their days. There were some that were truly evil. Gul'dan was evil, and most of the ones that actually were on the Shadow Council were evil.
Oh yeah, but they're all demon bloody mainly.
Well, even before they were corrupted by the Legion, by the Burning Legion.
Well, they're warlocky, right? Like the whole Shadow Council was very warlocky, so they're their own kind of evil.
And I like that too. I liked how initially the Orcs were brown skin and were shamanistic and everything. That it was the corruption from the Burning Legion that brought the Warlocks about and took them away from nature and such. And that's where the green skins are. So many good things about that storyline that I appreciated. That again, like I said, has tempted me in ways that I have not been for quite some time.
I believe you can play as a Mag'har Orc now.
I believe you probably can. Well, and that's the thing. Under Thrall, the Orcs came back, and there was even times where they talked about when they first were getting ready to leave Draenor, that one of the challenges was that basically the corruption from the Burning Legion had killed the land and everything around them that they used to be in harmony with. And so when they left, there were those Orcs who were kind of remembering what it was like to live under a shamanistic kind of lifestyle, and were reaching back to it. It just had been outlawed at the time. And so I could see why they absolutely would turn back to it at some point. But no, I would. Where I'm going with all this is I think it would be very interesting to maybe get a group together who just wanted to really focus on knocking through lore. Some of the big story elements and big events, because I never fought any of those big bosses. I never hit any of those big instances and raids to kind of know what was going on at the time.
One of the cool things now, because WoW's kind of an old game and there's so many expansions, and it's quite unique in this sense, I guess, is that you can get to max level, get to 120 or whatever it is now, right? And
Yes,
you can
which
go
took-
and do the level 70 raids by yourself.
Which
and
took
you can
someone-
still enjoy the lore elements.
Well, which what took someone 4 hours to do after launch?
Oh, yeah, back then.
No,
But nowadays
this
it's
one.
very rare.
No, BFA, it took someone 4 hours to hit max level.
Really?
Yeah, now they went
Oh my
from
God.
what was previous max level to max level, not to go 0 but they still went to max level in like 4 hours after launch.
Jesus.
Which will always remind me,
But
I am
to-
not
to
nearly
be
as
fair-
hardcore as many people.
To be fair, that means that they will have prepared for months and got like all the potions they need, got all as much gear as they could.
Oh yeah,
done
they were ready
research
for it.
on the beta to find out the best optimal route, so on and so forth. So yeah, it only took 4 hours, but realistically, it took way longer.
The prep work setting up for it, yes. But so maybe it's a weakness you've just heard from me, everybody, but yes, Wayne is not against the idea of at least looking at WoW some more. I currently have a female Draenei on Moonguard. I still have my, oh gosh, how high did I get my Tauren? My Druid, which is my highest level character, might have been in the high 70s, maybe low 80s, and still somewhere on Northrend, I think. And then I have a smattering of other ones where I was trying to get I think I was trying to play through a lot of the intro sequences off of different characters for a while, just to kind of see each of the starting areas, because I think those had some of the best lore to kind of get started with. But now I'm really focused on wanting to see some of the big events.
I should also mention that one of the more important changes that came in the past year with WoW is that they've made it more customizable experience for leveling. So instead of having to go through each expansion, if you didn't like Burning Crusade, you can actually skip it and go straight to Wrath, for example.
I've heard that
because
from
the
a
scale
lot of things,
zones.
yes. Well, and so that's some of the fun parts, right? Because I only really dove into Burning Crusade because I stopped playing after Vanilla when they first delayed Burning Crusade once or twice. I kind of got tired of waiting. And then it came out, I heard a lot of noise, so I joined it back for a while, and I went through a lot of it, which is actually really cool, because now reading the story in the book and seeing what Hellfire Peninsula looks like, you know, right at the point where it's kind of after, or similar to what it was when they were first going through the gate, that's pretty cool. And now that I have some reference to what the places really are, I have more interest. When it was just this new expansion and I went through it, I didn't really understand the background of it fully. That part I was like, okay, I go kill more stuff in this other place. But now again, having the storyline and being able to tie to who these characters are and why it's significant, heaven forbid, knowing the plot makes a difference.
Yeah. Well, again, it depends on the place. Like, for example, the Warlords of Draenor expansion, it was pretty fun for like the garrison stuff, and the fact that you're finally recognized as having done some important things in the history of Warcraft, considering your character, you know, saved the world, you know, a large number of times by that point. It was good that you're finally recognized. However, the lore was crap. Alternate universe, time traveling bull crap, you know?
Not everything's been a hit. You know, well, and that I still think there's
And then there's
missteps
pandas.
they've had, right? Well, but even then, when you actually get into the lore of the pandas, it's not terrible. It's just, I think, was shocking for a lot of people. And I also watched a like 2 hour, an hour and a half like developers comment that was talking about all of Warcraft, World of Warcraft, and how it was the lead like graphic design, like in charge of the team of graphics, and I want to say one of the lore people in charge of stuff, talking about the decisions they had to make as they went with each expansion, how many things came out, and how controversial Pandas was. Miss Pandaria, but they talked about how it was also one of the most revolutionary patches or ones they did because it really upped the graphics compared to so many others.
Oh yeah, it was great. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, and how they had to go through everything and make it work with that, as well as was the first time they had released an expansion where there wasn't a clear-cut villain, that there wasn't a raid boss at the top that was, this is the cause of this whole thing happening, and so it was different. And so it was interesting to see how people reacted to that. I have learned a lot recently that maybe I would have been playing more if I had known back in the day. Too busy pew-pewing people in like Call of Duty. But
hey, there's nothing wrong with that. That's kind of the thing with WoW is that it's a unique experience in gaming, and I think regardless of whether people like it or not, it is a part of gaming history, and being able to go back to occasionally experience where it's at is still going to be relevant, considering the large number of subscribers and how big the game still is. It's a giant, right? It's still not dead somehow, and it's nice to see why and how it's changed gaming landscape, and how the gaming landscape in return has changed it.
Yeah, no, it's had a huge impact. So that's a lot of it. What's going on with me lately in the geek side is I actually have gotten surprisingly close to WoW again, although I haven't really been playing. I just was touching it and seeing. But I also found like they figured out some stuff. It's kind of my reappreciation when I've played on some Switch games or other Nintendo games, or even like another piece of my geek cred, Majora's Mask, as I've been streaming, trying to finish Majora's Mask here finally. Maybe that's what I'll do with my afternoon, is try to actually get it done so I can try the next one, is how good some companies are at certain mechanics. Like Nintendo can make platformers beyond most anybody's ability. And their ability to make you figure out puzzles and kind of different kinds of tricks and things that you take all the skills you've learned over time to make it work is so masterful and so good. And so I just have to sit there and really appreciate that. And so on the same way, when I'm looking at what Blizzard has done, their tying of all the lore together is so good. And although in the game it still takes a little bit to really catch what you're really reading in some of it, but the mechanics of how you play the game and progress is still, I want to say, the de facto and probably the best of what any MMO has ever come up with. Just the pacing of how you progress and go through the stuff. Where I still feel like almost every other MMO I've touched has been a loose copy, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
So yeah, we'll see.
I think it's good of you. No, but seriously, I like to make fun because it's funny to see you go back to WoW. But I think it's really good that you're opening up and willing to try it again, and you're doing it carefully, where you're not paying the money until you're sure you want to, etc. So good for you for giving it a shot again.
Well,
and not only that, but you're trying to experience the game in an entirely new light.
Yes.
You're not just playing it for the functionality and the previous features. You're trying to play it for the lore aspect, and that is a completely different angle. If you play the game from that side, you can play the whole thing again, in my opinion.
And that's kind of the thing I'm looking at, because so much of it I was just trying to progress my character. Now I'm actually wanting to experience some of these events. Because they did good things in the books and some of the stuff I've read about and just listened to that talk about when these things occur and why they're important. Because even at the very end of the book, it's now from Thrall's perspective as he's trying to rebuild the Horde. And it talks about a messenger coming in, one of his information gatherers, because he hates the term spy, that mentions that Draenei have been sighted. And he's like, yeah, there's been Draenei forever. What's the big deal? It's like, no, not those feeble, weak creatures, but a new set of Draenei have crashed into the planet, and one of them has been spotted has fair white skin, and based on all the reports, must be Velen. And how at that moment, and it says that they've already formed, have already been accepted into the Alliance, and Thrall kind of saying, well, crud, what level of, or how can we possibly have peace with the Alliance now when they've just friended the Orcs' oldest enemy? It was just neat, right, to be like, huh. And so again, a new way to kind of enter into some of these expansions.
Well, that's cool. I've not read any of the books or anything. I saw the film, but that really doesn't count because it's an alternate universe entirely.
Well, no, actually,
but I've spent dozens of hours reading the WoW Wiki, and that's what's really intriguing.
The film is actually in line. I think the mistake people make about the film for the Warcraft film is that they keep thinking it's going to enter into World of Warcraft, but it is not. It is only covering the smallest piece of Warcraft 2.
Yeah, but it's not correct though. Like they brush over large strokes where, like, for example, when they're even explaining what magic is or what fel is, it's just wrong. It's an incorrect definition.
They don't cover it accurately. You're correct.
there's a lot of times to do stuff like that.
But I think they did a lot of that to try to make something that could be palpable to people who had never played it and understand the story. But as of overall and the kind of things that happen, I think they actually did an okay job with it. And like I said, enough so that I wish they would make another and just do fully animated everything. They shouldn't have human actors because that was bad.
I don't have a problem with it. I just think that they did that problem where they tried to make it generic to be accessible to the average person, but by doing so, they excluded their main base.
Which so they shouldn't have.
They tried to find the even ground, but instead they were too far from either side, I think.
And I can accept that. I can see that that was a challenge. I was surprised because I had a lot of criticism of the movie, but I also gave them some credit for things they did accomplish. All right. So as we're running through time here, and wow, we are almost done. I did want to mention little things because I'm trying to think. Next week, I think I'm still good and should be here. The week after that, though, is Dragon Con, and I cannot guarantee. I still don't know exactly.
Okay, I might be able to host something.
Well, and I don't know what I'll be doing with that one because I may take the laptop and such, but I don't know if I'll be doing photo stuff, I'll be cosplaying, if I'll be randomly caught up in something that's going on during the con. I don't know. So we'll see. That one's still up in the air. I know I'm going to Dragon Con. I don't know fully what all I'm doing when I'm there. So we'll see. I did want to bring up something for it, though, real quick. Grab off to the side is I was going to talk a little bit about 3D printing stuff because I finally got my printers, 2 of them running. So I repaired my R2. I had talked to and got Robo, and unfortunately no longer under warranty because I've had it too long and too many requests. But I had them ship me new print bed, the new hot end after I'd melted the previous one. But now it's running and it's getting close to finish up the next print. I'm doing some commissions for a person. I'm doing a print of a helmet for someone who's asked for a costume, as well as I'm printing right now some Dragon Con swag. I had somehow gotten into a group with Dragon Con that trades swag, and so people print, create, get whatever kind of little baubles and things that they give out to people essentially for free at Dragon Con if you find them. And so I decided I would participate in that. And so what I did is I modified essentially a design from Hamilton because I am bringing my Jefferson back for the 2nd year. And in doing so, I came up with some essentially little keychains that are the Hamilton symbol, say Hamilton across the top, but on the bottom part of it say Dragon Con. And I've been modifying the design a little bit where instead of it just saying Dragon Con, because that's a little too fine text for it to print well, I enlarged it a little bit and it's just going to say DCon 2018. But while I'm dressed as Jefferson, my goal will be to pass these out to people who come find me. And so I'm going to participate in the swag game this year as well. And I was tempted to do some more. I might do something for Dragon Ball Z as well because, unfortunate news, this is a little bit of the Geekscope as we're ending. The voice actor, the original Japanese voice actor for a lot of different characters, but specifically in this case for Mr. Satan, passed away just recently. And so a lot of people have doing remembrances and such of him. His name was, what is it? Unsho, was it Ishizuka? Is essentially the actor's name. And just as a quick thing on that, let's see, what are some of the ones? He died at the age of 68, and unfortunately it was of throat cancer, essentially, which is terrible when you talk about voice actors, right? But some of his big roles was Mr. Satan Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Professor Oak from Pokemon.
Oh, Jesus, okay.
And the original Japanese stuff. Cowboy Bebop's Jet. Full Metal Alchemist Van Holheim. One Piece's Admiral Kizaru. Let's see. He was Old Joseph Joestar in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. He was Zabuza in Naruto. And other various villains and things throughout.
Huge. Considering I recognized every single one you mentioned and I don't like anime, that's really impressive.
Right? So, unfortunate news. Never good when someone passes, especially what seems so early in something like that. But I figure I might choose to bring back Mr. Satan as well because of that. And so I might try to do a little, Dragon Ball or some kind of symbol and do it as a giveaway thing for the convention as well. But yeah, definitely throwing it out there and have some articles that'll at least be in the notes about some of the things people are doing to remember him. But with that, I think it is time for us to close up and get ready to go here. We have had a full show. So I would love to hear from you guys. We got Geek Cred this week from Agris SW, and we thank you and appreciate that all the time. But I know you can't possibly agree with everything that comes out of my mouth, as much as I am a brilliant and wonderful individual. Come on, guys. So feel free to call me out, to call Ken out, anything which you agree or disagree with the stuff we say. Just send an email into showx@vtwproductions.com and we will read it out so that you can share and we can share with everyone else out there your thoughts on the things that we say, as well as if you'd like to put words in our mouth. Yes, Ken?
I've got a fun idea. Since we've been talking like a fair bit of WoW lore today, send in what you think is one of the most interesting pieces of WoW lore, or one of the things that you want to talk about from the recent expansion. And we'll talk about it on air, because we haven't done like a sort of WoW lore. Because to be honest, back in the day, that was such a big thing with
where we all came
from.
Community.
Yeah, we all came from this, right? So
let's put a post out. Let's put a post out on social media asking that question, and asking people to email into the show and tell us some of their favorite moments. And if we get a collection of those together, we'll talk a little bit more World of Warcraft. For those who are fans or those who just want to reminisce with us, we'd love for you guys to be a part of that.
Indeed.
All right, so with that, Ken, would you like to send us out properly?
Sure thing. You've been listening to ShowX live on mostly Twitch and YouTube, but also VTWProductions.com. Check us out all over the interwebs. Find us on twitter.com/VTWShowX, twitter.com/DogDead, and twitter.com/GoHex. Check us out on patreon.com/ShowX as well, and support us there from a minimum of $1 a month. That's $12 a year. That's approximately 3 to 4 Costa coffees a year, which is pretty damn good considering we do approximately 96 hours a year. I just did that on the fly. You can also check us out on Facebook, search for ShowX there and follow us there. Check out our subreddit. We use that now instead of our forums. We are always looking for more people to post there because it's still not a particularly active community as of yet.
We'll have to post this on there as well.
Because it's a nice, easily accessible thing, right? It's attached to so many other things out there. So you can be on, instead of having to access the forums, you can be on Reddit normally, but then also take part in the ShowX stuff there. So you can, if you don't want to send an email, you can also put a post up there. That's reddit.com/r/ShowX.
Yes.
Check us out there.
Also, to wrap things up and to prep you guys for this week is we have a blast from the past that we want to announce is coming and partnering us with VTWProductions.com that I want you all to go look forward to. That is, if you remember, our good friend Nat20 is bringing out some content for you guys to listen to that I've already previewed some of and is quite entertaining. But we are going to be happy to be welcoming to the VTW channel and Versus the World on the site, 20for plays Symphony of the Night. He has a series of YouTube videos that he will slowly be leaking out to us starting, I believe, tomorrow. That if you go to the Versus the World or the VTW page, VTWProductions.com, you'll start seeing links from that, as well as we will start pimping it out on all of our channels. If you'd like to play along, or actually play ahead again, I guess, you could just go ahead and follow the link that I'm putting into the Twitch channel now. That is going to be their entire playlist of all the videos they have now. If not, you can take the daily dose they'll be giving, one, two, or three a week, to kind of catch you up to where they are playing Symphony of the Night. So I've already checked out a couple episodes. It's good fun, good entertainment, and we do love ourselves 20for. So check that out and look forward to posts that are upcoming. All right, I think that's all we've got for today, right, Sid?
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you all very much for listening to another episode of ShowX on VTWProduction.com. We love your feedback. We love your interaction, so please let us know how we're doing. And we will talk to you and catch you guys again next week. So thanks, everybody, and let me see if I can hit the right button.
Goodbye. See you in the next zombie. Good night. Also, God.
Awesome.